We bring you guests that challenge the narrative, unveil what power hides, and spark national debate, speaking truth to power, from the grassroots to the highest offices. EMV. We bring you guests that challenge the narrative, unveil what power hides, and spark national debate, speaking truth to power, from the grassroots to the highest offices. EMV. We bring you guests that challenge the narrative, unveil what power hides, and spark national debate, speaking truth to power, from the grassroots to the high.
We want change! We want change! We want change! We want change! We want a change!
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Twakupele voting atawa bomba Twakupele voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Pantuno mwaka Kuya bebele Twanakane mwe Mwachira mobufi Kuya bebele Twamwelele numa Kuya bebele Mwachira mobufi Mwalitula ile ona lebwa timukesa tupangira kwemisebo Twali mipele nevoti atimukesa tupangira kwemisebo Nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulila nechipatala ifwe Nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulila na masukulu kuno Ukutula potwa misalila ifwe Mwalitula baona lebo Imisebwala yagonaika Ichipatala takwaba kuno Abana besu basambilila mufimuti fya mango Bana mayo mapapila mungande Chipatala takwaba kuno Imisepila chose malofwa Bapepa vyebange Fama lelilo mufunda tawafika Nembuto tashafika Ukutula potwa misalila ifwe Mwalitula baona lebo Nomba lelo mwabwela imwe Mulefwa ya tumivotere Tatwakupele voting atawa bomba Tatwakupele voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Pantuno mwaka Kuya bebele Twanakane mwe Mwachira mobufi Kuya bebele Twamwelele numa Kuya bebele Mwachira mobufi Uno mwaka tulefa ya bakutubombera Nota bakwisa kuno mukuzembereka Mukutwibira mano nga twabavotera abaya Nangu mwatupele ndalama tulepo kata twamivotere Nidonti kubeba Wapoka walya Nidonti kubeba Wapoka walya Ababina chimwe na mwekole Uko bafuma balilaba Bayi kutapiza Bala boko bafuma Bayi kutapai Bala bati bakabwela Balya chikini nena mabanu inapana kaso Wala ona lebo mulabeja Ukutula potwa misalila ifwe Walitula baona lebo Nomba lelo mabwela imwe Mulefwa ya tumivotere Tatwakupele voting atawa bomba Tatwakupele voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Pantuno mwaka Kuya bebele Twanakane mwe Mwachira mobufi Kuya
Good day and welcome to today's urgent broadcast. It will be a brief broadcast. We haven't come at our usual time because there's a specific matter that we need to discuss and it may not have to wait any longer. Just share the broadcast quickly because we are broadcasting at an irregular time. We usually broadcast, after the main news in Zambia. We usually broadcast at 20 hours Zambian time. And I don't want to have the crisis I had yesterday. Tell me if in the comment, if our broadcast is okay, if you can get the picture, if you can get the audio. Yesterday I had the unfortunate case where people could not hear me. Is the volume okay? And let me just briefly check, but share the broadcast. We are discussing, I want to give our comments on the PF convention. You know that a senior member and presidential candidate, Honorable Chimbakambwili, issued a statement earlier this week. Today, Joseph William Dolo has issued a statement. What is happening? What is the state of the PF? What is their position on the issue of the party convention? These will be the views that I wish to express. Comment, is the volume okay? I do not want to go on like yesterday where I went on and was discussing with myself. If the broadcast, share the broadcast, quickly share so that we reach as many people as possible. I'm coming back. Let me just confirm with my monitor if everything is okay.
We want change! We want change! We want change! We want change! We want a change!
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Mukesa tupangira kwemisebo wali mipele nevoti ati mukesa tupangira kwemisebo nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulira nechipatala ifwe nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulira na masukulu kuno ukutula potwabisalila ifwe mwalitula baona lebo imisebo ala yagonaika ichipatala takwaba kuno abana besu basambilira mufimuti fyamango bana mayo mapapira mungande chipatala takwaba kuno imisepila chose malofwa bapepa byebange fama lelilo mufunda tawafika nembuto tashafika ukutula potwa misalila ifwe mwalitula baona lebo nomba lelo mwabwela imwe mulefwa yatumivotere tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti ngata wabombae pantuno mwaka uya bebele twanakanemwe mwachilamo bufi kuya bebele akomwelele numa kuya bebele mwachilamo bufi uno mwaka tulefwa yabakutubombera nocha bakwisa kuno mukuzembereka mukutwibira mano nga twabavotera abaya nangu mwatupele ndalama tulepo katatwa mivotere nidonti kubeba wapoka walya nidonti kubeba wapoka walya ababina chimwe na mwekole uko bafuma balilaba bayi kutapiza balaboko bafuma bayi kutapai balabati bakabwela balya chikinine na mabanu inapana kaso wala onalebo mulabeja ukutula potwa misalila ifwe walitula baonalebo nomba lelo mabwela imwe mulefwa yatumivotere tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tatwakupele voti ngata wabombae tawalimone voti beti.
Thank you very much. If you're joining us, share the broadcast, and I hope everything is okay. My monitor shows that we are okay. I've got an urgent meeting, and by the time I'm back from that meeting, it may be too late for me to conduct the broadcast because it will be midnight or 01 Zambian time. You know, the time differences of almost 8 hours. So it's around 10:15 here, and it's around 19 hours in Zambia. But I thought that this particular matter was very important, that we should discuss it quickly. There's a matter of the PF conference, the general conference, and there have been two major statements from two senior leaders who are also presidential candidates. First, Honorable Chimbaka Mbwili, former Minister of Information. I was supposed to host him here today. Former cabinet minister and long-time member of the Patriotic Front, issued a statement expressing concern that the PF should not hold its scheduled general conference, which should have taken place last week. And he said they should wait for the ruling that is coming up before Justice Concepta Chinyanwa Zulu on 27th March 2026. Today, there's been another statement by another presidential candidate who was Wheeler Joseph Mdolo, who's based in South Africa, who has issued a very strong statement urging the party that he can only participate in a genuine PF conference. He says he will not participate in the conference, in his view, that has been called for this weekend because it's being held under no name. There's a third item. I have seen a section faction who's peddling a narrative that the beneficiary of the March 27th consent judgment will be Brian Munduwile and Davis Mwila. Those are the three items I want to quickly respond to. Let's start with the state of the Patriotic Front. The Patriotic Front lost elections in 2021. You know the history. President Lungu resigned at their first Central Committee meeting. First, a post-mortem was done by academics led by others, including Sensho Banda. You must have that document. It's a very powerful document. It did a postmortem of why the Patriotic Front lost elections and made recommendations. Among the key recommendations was that the top six must resign. This included President Edgar Lungu, Samuel Mkupa, the chairperson, Davis Mwila, Secretary General, the Vice President, Honorable Inonge Wina. So the top six were directed to resign as recommendations from the postmortem. At the first Central Committee meeting when this matter was tabled, the Central Committee accepted the resignations of Honorable Inonge Wina as Vice President and of Samuel Mukupa, of Davis Mwila, and others. They refused the resignation of the President Edgar Lungu. The Central Committee decided that they were going to place him on leave, but that he will not relinquish his position as PF President. You must have seen the letters where President Lungu proceeded to write resignation letters to the Secretary to Cabinet that he had resigned as PF President. But the fact of the matter was that the party Central Committee in 2021 refused his resignation. They said, you hold the fort until we elect a new president. And immediately they called for a general conference that should have been held in December 2021. There's another thing that the party did. It reaffirmed and confirmed and ratified the appointment of Honorable Given Luwinda as Vice President of the party and in turn acting president to carry the party forward. There was an appointment of Nixon Chilangwa as Deputy Secretary General of the party and to act as Secretary General. Those were the developments in 2021. Davis Mwila resigned in 2021. So I was just alarmed by these narratives and I thought that we could correct that. Fast forward, the party began the process to register itself as a new brand, began to rebrand itself. You heard the word rebranding so often, and began to prepare for a general conference. The first 9 that paid, including myself, including Mao Sampa, including Brian Munduwile, we were 9 of us. Greyford Monde, Chimbakambwili, we were 9 of us that paid to contest the presidency from 2022. By 2023, we still hadn't held a conference. And the chief registrar of societies from Registrar of Societies, Madam Tandiwe Piri Muhende, wrote a very strong letter, you remember, in April 2023, telling the Patriotic Front that from 2021, she had been writing letters for them to update the records because the Registrar of Societies had understood that the people on the register, Davis Mwila, President Edgar Lungu and others, Inonge Wina, had resigned and she had not seen an updated list. We wrote a letter to the chief registrar at the time, Tandiwe Piri Muhende, that in fact there was an amendment that was done that amended Given Lubinda as vice president to replace Inonge Wina and Nixon Chilangwa to replace Davis Mwila. So she acknowledged that such a letter was written, but they had not submitted their fingerprints. You remember, in fact, I carried the matter live from the Central Police Station where Honorable Given Lubinda, Nixon Chilangwa, Raphael Nakachinda went to submit. There were other people like Freedom Scars who were in Kitwe, and we had to ask them to go to Kitwe Central Police and get their fingerprints done. A letter was done. The police cleared the fingerprints. A letter was done to the Registrar of Societies, and copies were accepted and acknowledged. This is April 2023. So as at April 2023, the records must show that Given Lubinda, I think, was placed as vice president. We said we were only going to replace the president, President Edgar Lungu, at the upcoming conference that was due in June at the time. So President Lungu was not replaced as president of the party, but there were inclusions to amend those that had resigned. Honorable Inonge Wina, Davis Mwila, Samuel Mukupa, these were replaced by another list that was approved by the Central Committee when the Chief Registrar gave that 7 days ultimatum. In that meeting, many will remember, including my dear brother, Brian Munduwile, and Davis Mwila, who was now an ordinary member of the Central Committee, will remember that we approved a list that should go to the chief registrar and directed the people that were nominated, because we needed to also remove the former Minister of Community Development at the time. She was in prison. She was on that official list. So the new list was then submitted to the chief registrar. Fingerprints were taken and confirmation was done. If today the judgment comes up from court, the leadership doesn't go to those that held the position in 2021. The leadership goes to the list that was updated in 2022 and 2023 where fingerprints were obtained. What is contained in the agreement for the upcoming judgment on 27th is that following the meeting between Mao Sampa, who was leading a faction led by Chabinga, by Morgan Ingona and others, Mao Sampa reconciled with the late president and recommitted to hand the party back to the Patriotic Front and decided to disown the general conference that he held on October 2023, 24th October 2023. That is the gist of that agreement, is that President Lungu and Mao Sampa have agreed to restore the party, reconcile both factions, the faction led by Edgar Lungu Given Luwinda, and the faction led by Mao Sampa, Robert Chabinga, and Morgan Ngona. So, remember what immediately after Mao Sampa met President Lungu, there was this backlash from the state who appeared very frustrated with the decision by Mao Sampa to reconcile himself back to the Patriotic Front. What was the relevant actions that Mao Sampa did to remedy the situation and restore the Patriotic Front back? It's very important that we walk these paths. What Mao Sampa did was, remember when he took over the party, he replaced Brian Mundwile as leader of the opposition with Robert Chabinga, and he replaced Anton Kasandwe, MP for our MP in Luapula for what constituency is that? My dear brother in his constituency is in Samfia. Anton Kasandwe was replaced, and Kampiongo were replaced. These were, leader of the opposition was Brian Mundwile. Stephen Kampiongo was chief whip, and Anton Kasandwe were replaced by Mao Sampa, and he put Robert Chabinga, Anton Mumba, and I think Jonathan Daka in their stead. So a year later, when Mao Sampa reconciles with President Lungu, Mao Sampa immediately fired Morgan Ngona. Okay? You see the matter that has been boiling in court since 2024. Mao Sampa removed Morgan Ngona. He wrote a letter to the Speaker of the National Assembly to replace Robert Chabinga as leader of the opposition and replace him, not with Brian Mundwile, but with Brenda Nyirenda and Mlenga Kampamba from Kalulushi, if you remember, Lundazi MP, Brenda Nyirenda, and Mlenga Kampamba. And I think Anton Kasandwe was again brought on board. These now were going to replace Robert Chabinga, Jonathan Daka, and Anthony Mumba. This is where we are at. Then Morgan Ngona refuses his dismissal, refuses his removal, goes to court and obtains a court injunction to restrain Mao Sampa from removing him. That is a matter that has been raging, where now Mao Sampa scored a very big victory. The first victory was in May 2025, when Morgan Ngona's injunction was removed because he had failed to prosecute the case. In May 2025, the Registrar of Societies must have amended the records back to Mao Sampa, must have amended the records. Parliament must have effected the changes that Mao Sampa had done, where he had put new leaders in Parliament. But Parliament ignored those letters. We know Imingalato, which is going on. But finally, Judge Zulu last week ruled that the case that Morgan Ngona had taken to have him removed was now stood dismissed for two valid reasons. Since June 2024, Morgan Ngona had failed to prosecute that case. So the case was thrown out, and he had earlier lost the injunction. Morgan Ngona immediately applied for an appeal and applied that the judge should set aside her own judgment, which had ruled that Morgan Ngona stands fired. But the judge refused to set aside that. She said there was nothing to set aside. There was nothing to give an injunction to Morgan Ngona, because for 2 years he had failed to prosecute the case. Today, the Patriotic Front is legally with Mao Sampa. Where is Mao Sampa? Is currently the Deputy Secretary General of the Patriotic Front under Given Luwinda. So then what is happening? What is happening then on March 27th? And then what is happening to the plans for this general conference? Let me come back to that. Let me just play a brief song for you also to digest this. Thank you.
We want change. We want change. We want change. We want change. We want a change.
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Twakupele voting atawa bomba Twakupele voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Paduno mwaka Kuya bebele Twanakane mwe Mwachila mobufi Kuya bebele Twamwelele numa Kuya bebele Mwachila mobufi Mwalitula ile ona lembwa timukesa tupangira kwemisebo Walimipele nevoti atimukesa tupangira kwemisebo Nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulila nechipatala ifwe Nimwewo mwatile mukesa tukulila na masukulu kuno Ukutula potwa misalila ifwe Mwalitula baona lebo Imisebo ala yagyonaika Ichipatala takwaba kuno Abana besu basambilila mufimuti fya mango Bana mayo mapapila mungande Zipatala takwaba kuno Imisepila chose mbalo fwa Bapepa pyebange.
Thank you very much. This will be a brief broadcast. I will not take phone calls. We'll do the phone calls tomorrow because I've got an urgent meeting that I'm attending and I need to rush. But it's important that we just use the opportunity to discuss this matter. And the goodness with Facebook is you can replay and watch later. I may do my own thoughts into a narrative statement, but I've realized that the video statement, live video statements have more impact than just a mere statement. So I thought I could give life to the words that I may issue later. So where are we at? You have understood that the Patriotic Front is trying to hold a general conference. The impediment has been the legal matters. You are aware that in Kabwe, when we're about to hold the general conference in November, in October, November, Morgan Ingona rushed to Kabwe. The judge and the Chief Justice had directed that these matters should be handled by one judge, and all the 3 cases were taken before Judge Concepta Zulu. But and to escape this directive, Morgan Ingona rushed to Kabwe, applied before Judge in charge, Kelvin Hanchubili Limbani, and was given that court order. At the time, the acting Secretary General, who had been appointed as Deputy Secretary General, was Brenda Nyirenda Lundazi MP. You remember she's the one that conducted the fresh nominations because there were these 9 candidates that included myself. But Central Committee made a new decision that in light of the development, in light of the reconciliation that was done between Mao Sampa and ourselves, that it was imperative that we reopen fresh nominations. This is where you saw the nominations of Willa Joseph Mdolo, Chanda Katoto, will apply MP, acting President Given Luwinda, and Makebi Zulu joined the race. This was after we reopened the process for the 9 that had applied since 2022 to be joined by whoever was willing to submit. And Brenda Nyirenda Lundazi MP, who was acting Secretary General, handled this process. So the matter in Kabwe is Morgan Ingona, who has sued Brenda Nyirenda as acting PF Secretary General to stop the convention that she was supposed to have, because he claimed that he would suffer irreparable damage because, he said the matters had not been resolved of who held the legal status of the PF. He challenged the court that he himself was the legal owner of the party as demonstrated by documents at the Registrar of Societies. That is the matter in Kabwe. The matter in Kabwe was very fascinating because it stopped named Given Luwinda's Brenda Nyirenda and others not to hold any party activities, not to go to the secretariat, not to wear party regalia, not to hold party activities. You remember how expansive that order was, and Robert Chavinga used it to embarrass us most of the times at his press conference. That is the only matter standing in the way of the PF holding a general conference. And I'll relate it to the matter that is coming up on 27th March. That particular order where Morgan Ngona has gone to the Kabwe High Court to restrain the PF and given Lubinda from holding any party activities is the only thing that legally can prevent the PF from holding any general conference. But what is the status of those orders is that, first of all, they've been overtaken by events. The court in Lusaka has ruled that Morgan Ngona was legitimately dismissed and fired and removed as Secretary General of the party. So the suing party in Kabwe is a man that the court has established was dismissed. What needs to be done is now just an administrative process where these facts are legally brought to the Kabwe High Court. And I'm aware that Mao Sampa has since submitted the evidence of the findings of the Lusaka court, where Morgan Ngona is no longer Secretary General. He has also written to the Chief Registrar, Acting Chief Registrar Mwambazi, to inform him of the decision of the court, that the court has dismissed Morgan Ngona and has affirmed Mao Sampa's decision to fire him as Secretary General. So the Registrar of Society has been directed to amend the records. You saw what happened on Friday when Mao Sampa took the records, the records of the court to Acting Chief Registrar Mwambazi. They immediately amended the records and removed Morgan Ngona and Robert Chavinga as committee member. But by Monday, you saw that they were again reinstated, and the Chief Registrar, Acting Chief Registrar Mwambazi, wrote a letter to Mao Sampa that he had received the directives of the court and he had submitted them to the Attorney General, Mulilo Kawesha, for directives. Mao Sampa has also gone to the Kabwe court, like I said, to inform the court of these administrative processes, that the suing party should be replaced by him. He is the Secretary General. All these issues are confusing people. Can the PF hold a general conference? I've always held that they can. Because given Lubinda, who doesn't have the legal status of the PF, holds Central Committee meetings. He directs members across the country to march, and they will march in PF colors. He will make appointments and disappointments, and they are respected. They even do invitations for national functions to given Lubinda. Yet they want to say the faction by Lubinda doesn't hold the PF. No, the faction by Lubinda holds the PF. I have again and again advised the PF that the very reason the general conference is a mere meeting. How do you hold the Central Committee meeting? How do you hold the National Executive Committee meeting? How do you hold party activities like marching on Youth Day and Women's Day? How do you do that? Yet you don't have the legal status of the party. The General Conference is just one of those activities. Proceed to hold it. It's not different from your Central Committee meetings. It's just a meeting. 2, for the first time in 2 years, the Patriotic Front is back with the Patriotic Front. Because what has happened is that with the decisions of the court, legally at the moment, the party is with Mao Sampa. Mao Sampa is a Deputy Secretary General in the Patriotic Front, which is currently being led by Given Lubinda. As we are now, the PF is totally with the PF, legally, by court orders. Let's ignore the administrative function that the registrar has to do. A court order, court directive, court judgment is more superior than any document, any administrative document anywhere. If you've been fired and the court reinstates you, even if you stand fired in the company's records, the company has a duty to reinstate you. They might say, no, it has gone to legal department, but by orders of court, you are reinstated. In fact, the clock begins to tick immediately. Whether they will reinstate you after 2 months, whether they will do what, you've been reinstated. So here, the most superior document reigning at the moment is that the PF is back with Mal Sampa. Mal Sampa is with the group that he had reconciled with, led for Given Lubinda. Should the PF hold its conference this weekend? In my view, the only encumbrance should be the presidential candidates. Sit them down and agree with them. If they agree, if the party agrees, they should hold the conference. Whether no name or whatever you call it, how has Lubinda been making appointments? How has Lubinda been making changes? The same way he can hold the conference. Maybe when the matter comes up on 27th, which now I wish to discuss, maybe at that stage again you can decide to say maybe now we can have a genuine one, not genuine one, a legitimate one. Even that is a difficult word. All I'm trying to say is that Lubinda and the Central Committee, you might not like them. You might have all your views about them, but they've been making decisions since 2021. They've been making decisions since 2023 when Mao Sampa took away the party from them. And those decisions have always been respected by PF members as a legal, legitimate reasons. That's why they failed to take away the PF. Because even when they deplatformed the PF, the people and members called themselves PF in their hearts. What's happening on 27th March, finally, is that Mal Sampa has wrestled the party from Robert Chawinga and Morgan Ngona. It is now under Mal Sampa, who is with the current PF. What is happening on 27th is now that legal suit. Remember, Mal Sampa had filed seven MPs, including Brian Munduvile. When we reconciled, that was one of the active cases we used to do consent agreement. I've got the agreement that was done then. The agreement is very simple. That the party Mal Sampa and ourselves have restored the Patriotic Front into one grouping, breaking the factions, one led by ECL and the other one led by let me just answer if he needs to say something.
Famaleliro mufunda tawafika nembuto tashafika umutula potwa misalira ifwe mulitula baona lebo nombalelo mwabwela imwe mulefa yatumivotere twakumbele votinga tawabomba tatwakumbele votinga tawabomba tawalimone votinga tawabomba tawalimone votinga tawabomba patuno mwaka kuya bebele twanakanемwe mwachiramo bufi kuya bebele akomwelele numa kuya bebele mwachiramo bufi uno mwaka tulefa yabakutu.
Dear viewers, we had said earlier that I was supposed to host Honorable Chimbaka Mbwili, but I think he was traveling. I couldn't reach him. And Honorable Chimbaka Mbwili had issued a statement urging the party to hold a conference only after 27th March, and the position that I've been narrating. So is on the line. Let me invite him. Honorable Chimbaka Mbwili, I'm currently live. When I saw your call, to quickly just go to answer. I have been expressing my views that just giving the background to the PF, and I also referred to your statement by yourself and by Joseph Mdolo, and I have made my own remarks, but maybe the country can hear from you.
Hello?
Yes, you are live now.
Hello?
You are live.
Yeah, my views still stand. My views still stand. When Munduvile and group convention on the Council and the F, everybody said they have left PF. Now, what is so different if PF held the conference on a no-name or on a special purpose vehicle before the matters in court are concluded? What will be the difference? It will be one and the same thing. And in my view, we have waited all along from 2022. Some of us pushed, let's have the convention, let's have the convention. People didn't listen until this matter of the court case came in. Now, I think by and large, we should be law-abiding citizens, and we should not be led by the nose or do things under duress. Yes, our members are becoming agitated, our members are complaining. And if we are going to do anything under pressure and make a wrong decision, then we are not leaders worth our salt. There is a Greek saying that when pressure comes, that pressure is there not for leaders to make a wrong decision, but to determine the ability of those leaders to hold and contain pressure and make a right decision. Now, are we going to make a wrong decision just because our members are complaining that in the end of it all of us lose? It is not true to say that if you hold a conference today, when there is a matter in court which is dealing with whether the PF will be returned to the actual owners or not, and also that injunction in Kabwe restraining PF from holding the convention. First and foremost, then you are not respecting the decision of the court. You are not respecting the courts. Therefore, any convention that is going to be held before the 27 judgment, if people want to go ahead with it, it's all right, but they should know that they would have resigned from PF, just like they have been telling Munduile that you resigned from PF. They've been telling Munduile, don't use regalia for PF because you resigned. So there will be no reason for anybody to use the regalia for PF after holding the convention before the 27 to legalize who owns the PF. So my view still stands that it is not correct to say that the PF has been making decisions like what I've read somewhere since 2022. On what basis has it been making decisions? Let's face the legal decisions. When Luvinda adopts a candidate and sends to the Electoral Commission of Zambia, do they accept them? The decisions that have been made are administrative that do not fall within the legal framework or in conformity with the Constitution of Zambia. And that is why when PF adopts candidate, Lurinda signs the adoption certificate and Nakachinda, they are not recognized. Why? Because as far as the law is concerned, they are not recognized office bearers of PF. And
Oh, the number is cutting. Let me call him back. Let me call him. Honorable, if you are listening, just pick on my American number. Sometimes it's more clearer. Let me call him on he was using the Zambian number. Let me call him on the American number because I want to ask him some questions that I myself, as you heard in my broadcast, I was distinguishing the matter on 27th and the matter in Kabwe and the matter that Mao Sampa won. Let me call back Honorable Chimbakamwili because I want to ask him my views that I've already expressed. So just let me call him so that we harmonize the discussion. Honorable Chimbakamwili, I'm calling you on my US number. If you are listening or if you are watching the broadcast, you might not have my US number, but just answer on the US number. I know he's traveling and he's driving and he might fall out of network. But let me quickly respond to what Honorable Chimbaka Mbwili has said, oh, I think he has come on. Let's see. Yeah. Thank you, Honorable Chimbaka Mbwili. I hope now you'll be clear. You're very clear, but towards the end, your phone cut.
Then your name is no name. It's not PF. And we must be very careful. We are fighting with government machinery. Look, the UPND yesterday was sued by somebody, an ordinary member, to say that they've not held the convention. What would stop somebody to come and say, these people are claiming that this is a PF president, is not a PF president, because he was not elected on PF through the PF convention. And the PF convention, the rules are very clear. Prior to the convention, you must hold the National Council. As the National Council being held? The answer is no. Just like we were telling Mao Sampa that the National Council was held, so his convention was illegal. So if there will be no National Council on PF and not on no-name, all that is illegal. So let's not do things for expedience sake. Let's do things that are within the confines of the law. I have said, and I want to say it again. If in the event that the judgment on the 27th is against us, or there will be an adjournment, then we know that between 27th and the 15th of April, when there will be no, when they will start receiving, when the process of receiving nominations and filing of nominations starts, then we can say we've tried our level best, but we've come to the end. And we appeal to our members to say, let's move on a special purpose vehicle. Our members will understand. But you cannot fight for the party all these years and then come and lose it in 8 days. Because from the day that they want to hold the conference, which I'm told is within the next 2-4 days, there'll only be 7 days before the 27th. So what is the rush? But anyway, the decision is with the leadership. The decision is with the Electoral Commission of Zambia. I am only giving my opinion, and other people can give their opinion. But I think I am on firm ground in as far as the law is concerned. And if we are not careful, we are going to create another problem when we are coming from another problem. We get the party back, somebody will just come and say, hey, I want to stand as PF president. The convention which was there was not for PF president. He goes to court and they will start delaying until Jesus comes. So colleagues, we can avoid these unnecessary things by just waiting for another 5 days. The problem that we have in PF is communication, which is poor. When you make a decision, you don't communicate to the members. And the members are left in abeyance. They are left without information. When decisions are made, it is important to communicate the information to the members. And I don't think the members will have a problem if you communicate to them correctly. But we run to start misleading. No, it will be a PF convention. When we make it the presidential candidates agree, then it can be done. The presidential candidates are not the constitution of PF. The presidential candidates are not the constitution of the Republic of Zambia. So my opinion still stands, and I'm not forcing anybody. It is just an opinion. You can take it or leave it. I thank you.
No, don't go. Don't go. I've got a few questions. I think we need to clarify two issues. In my view, as I stated in the earlier broadcast, and it's clear probably you didn't listen to it, is that the only thing... I didn't
listen to you. I haven't been listening to you. I didn't listen to your opinion.
Yeah, here is my brief opinion that I communicated.
I have only read what you have written.
Yeah.
Which you have posted.
Yeah.
And I've read what Honorable Dr. Ngambi has written. I've read your article.
Uh-huh.
That you've written on the convention,
yes,
which you have posted on the MCC blog, and I've read what Dr. Ngambi has written.
Okay, so here is what I have stated on this broadcast to expand to my brief note I put on the MCC blog. I said the only matter hindering the PF from holding a conference is the issue in Kabwe before the judge in charge of Kabwe High Court, Judge Kelvin Anchubili Rimbani. Because in there, he had given orders to Morgan Ngona, an injunction that the PF, led by Given Lubinda, Brenda Nyurenda and others, should not hold a conference and should not hold party activities. I also stated that in light of the fresh development, where the Lusaka High Court, before Judge Concepta Zulu, has ruled that the party belongs to, that Morgan Ngona stands dismissed, and the court refused his application to set aside a judgment. Legally now, as we speak, the party is with Mao Sampa. That's point number one. As we
Now,
speak
can I
now,
tell you,
yeah, just
can I tell you something for nothing? Are you aware that Mao Sampa is not in support of holding the convention, who you are calling the actual president of the PF, is not in support of holding the convention before the 27th?
I can
So
call him.
supposing Mao Sampa,
It's a pity as a funeral, and
So-
may the soul of the grandmother.
I'm telling you that, are you aware, supposing Mao Sampa doesn't want this convention before the 27th, and after the 27th he comes and says, I'm only supposing that that convention you held was illegal, what are you going to do?
Oh, let me answer that in this way.
Since you are saying that the party is legally in the hands of Mao Sampa.
That is the legal position now, because the only thing,
Yes.
the only thing that was preventing Mao Sampa was that the party was held by Chabinga, but the court has ruled that Morgan Ngona, who was generating all these letters of appointment to Parliament, had made changes to the Registrar of Societies. The court has ruled that he stands dismissed, and his removal in 2024 was valid. So the party at the moment is legally with Mao Sampa. And where is Mao Sampa located? He is with the Patriotic Front that is being led by Given Lubinda. In my view, the matter coming up on 27th, I had narrated it this way. Mao Sampa, as at today, right now, holds the PF, is a legal owner of the PF by the judgment of the High Court. But there was a consent judgment in the case of Brian Mundubile, Raphael Nakachinda and others, and Mao Sampa and others, where the two factions, we have reconciled, affirming the position that we've always held since 2021. And I narrated how in 2023 April, when the Registrar of Societies decided to threaten us with deregistration, because in their view, we had not changed the legal owners of the party. They had said, she had said, I'm aware that the former president has resigned, and others like Davis Mwila had resigned. We, as a Central Committee, sat and approved a new list of names. The only person that we refused to remove there was the president, President Edgar Lungu. We said we are going to amend after the conference, but we put in new names of Nixon Chilangwa, Raphael Nakachinda, Vice President Given Lubinda to replace Honorable Inonge Wina. Davis Mwila was replaced by Nixon Chilangwa and Raphael Nakachinda. And those documents were done. We went to the Central Committee, processed fingerprints, and submitted the letter confirmed and attested by the Chief Registrar. But back to the issue. In my view, the judgment of 27th has no effect whatsoever on the conference. What we should recognize is only the court orders from Kabwe. Let me call him back so that I can hear his response. So the judgment of 27th is a consent agreement. There are no court orders, there are no injunctions. It's a consent agreement. Where there were court orders preventing the party was on the matters between Mao Sampa, ourselves, and Robert Chabinga. That's where there were all these injunctions and contempts flying around. I myself had 3 contempts because I always speak on behalf of the PF. Okay, I hope he's back on. But what should prevent the PF from having a legal conference this weekend, if they are having one, should only be the High Court order in Kabwe, in my view, which has been overtaken by events. Okay. Then maybe you can hear through my podcast.
Emmanuel, your analysis is wrong.
Yeah, please communicate.
Emmanuel, look, we've not held the convention. Not what people are saying that given Lubinda has been holding on to not holding the convention. That is a very wrong narrative. The reason why we've not held the convention is in respect of the injunction, which is in Kabwe.
Yeah, correct.
And the fear has been that if we hold the convention on the PF ticket, we will be cited for contempt. All right? That's the reason. It's not given Luvinda, and people must not bring Luvinda's name into disrepute, because these decisions have been made by everybody and all presidential candidates, including Makebi, my younger brother Makebi, Monde, and them. They've all agreed that we cannot hold a convention on the PF ticket. Mark that word, on the PF ticket, until the injunction in Kabwe is discharged.
Yeah.
Now, there are two ways of how that.
Bakalamba,
Yes.
thank you. There we are agreeing. I feared when you were attaching the matter to the matter coming up on 27th.
Now, listen, Mwamba. Now there are 2 ways of how that matter in Kabwe will be discharged. On the 27th, the judgment that will be there is a judgment that is going to deal with who owns PF. Is it Mao Sampa? It is the late President Edgar Lungu and those who were on there. Okay, taking into account that some of them resigned, and because they resigned, we had submitted names to replace them. But that was not actioned on because we had this matter pending in court. Now, if the court on the 27 rules that the party goes back to the original owners, or Mao Sampa fired Ngonan, fired Chavinga, then what Chavinga has done in Kabwe has no locus. Chavinga and Ngona will have no locus to sue in Kabwe. It becomes an academic injunction. Then we can go ahead with the convention even on 28th. But without either the Kabwe matter being concluded or the Lusaka matter being concluded, whatever is going to be done will not be on PF. And what has changed? If we have said we are not going to go to the convention because of the Kabwe injunction, what has changed today that we can say if we go on to the convention before the 27th, then we are PF? So I still insist that I'm on firm ground.
No, I agree with you. Remember what I had stated.
I'm on firm ground.
No, there you are now. We are all in agreement. I have stated on this program that the only matter that the PF could hold the PF legally away from holding a conference is the Kabwe matter, not the matter coming up on 27th. That one has no court orders. It's a consent agreement. It has no injunction. The only injunction subsisting currently is the one from Kabwe.
Yes.
And I informed the audience. Bakalamba.
Once the consent order, listen, Mwamba, once the consent order is agreed and signed by the judge, it means the judge has given the party back to the owners. Therefore, that injunction in Kabwe, the ones who sued will have no locus.
Yeah, that's why I wanted to quickly brief you.
Yes.
So what has happened since then? After Mao Sampa won that case, he has gone to the Kabwe High Court to update the records, to substitute Morgan Ngona, because he was a suing party on behalf of the PF, which now Mao Sampa holds. So he has applied to that court in Kabwe to say my Secretary General is no longer the Secretary General. So in the suit against Brenda Nyirenda, Miles Sampa has substituted Morgan Ngona in that case. And, as usual, when you have PF cases, the judge, I understand, has been in Livingston for a workshop since Monday. We hope that it can be attended to in the coming week. For me, that is the only thing we need to. But even that is almost academic with the ruling of the Lusaka High Court. But on record, as we stand now, Miles Sampa has gone to the Kabwe High Court and has applied to have Ngona removed, because Ngona is no longer the Secretary General of the PF. And then it will be a matter between Miles Sampa and Brenda Nyirenda, and between them, between Brenda Nyirenda representing Given Lubinda and others, between them the matter should be settled either by discontinuance or, by amending the records just to paralyze the process. But the point is, for me, as we stand now legally, the party is with Miles Sampa. The party is back to the PF because Miles Sampa is with the PF currently. So the issues of how we hold the conference, I think we should resolve it, in my view, around the Kabwe issue.
Mwamba, let me tell you, Munyama Bakaya, Ichkupempula Echkulia. If you're Mkalambenga Mona, Nanaikala, Umaichana Ngwengemi Napatebo Tejafimone. Heed to my advice. Mailumke Saivat Kambuyari Landile. Umwana Umulume wambwa tafakukulu. Umulume wambwa tafakukulu. My earnest appeal is that let's wait for the 27th. Let's not do things under
Oh, is it gone? Thank you very much. That's my elder brother, Honorable Chimbakambwidi. I think his point remains very clear as he had put it in his broadcast, that we should hold the conference after March 27th. That is his position. And I was clarifying for myself, and I think for the party, if they have to respect any issue, because the narrative is also extremely important, it should only be the Kabwe issue. And I would urge the party to spend time on pushing the Kabwe issue. Of course, the audience watching would say, "Imwana imova PF, tabaka mipele PF, bakula mishingulu shafye." And that is why the leadership, in the manner that Lubinda and the Central Committee have been making appointments, have been conducting party activities, have thought of going ahead with the General Conference. How will you call it without even giving it a name is that the party has been having meetings. And the General Conference is one of the meetings. And also there is fear. As you saw how our members were taken advantage of on Women's Day and Youth Day, where our members gather, someone brings his placard to attempt to show that is leading those structures. So our members are lost. Our members are looking for direction. Our members have run out of patience for us to hold the conference. If the party who hold any conference this weekend, for me, I still think that process must be regarded as a consensus building process of who the party should think is a leader of the party. And if the legality will be once restored one day, we can hold a general conference, a proper general conference. But remember, we are already in dire straits. The PF, the UPND, may not hold legitimate conferences. You saw the gentleman I hosted yesterday, who has said it's not possible for the UPND to hold a valid, legitimate and legal conference because in their party constitution, they need to start from polling management committees, which elect wards, which elects constituencies, which elects districts, which elect provinces, which elects the National Management Committee and the President. And they've stated, Longo has stated, that it is not possible for the UPND to hold a general conference. And as the UPND stand now, it's literally risking to be an unlawful society. He affirmed the position that President Hakainde Hichilema is former UPND president. Batuko Imenda and others are former leaders of the UPND. And he has proposed that they should have an interim committee, not led by President Hakainde Hichilema, but by another set who then should run the party and take it to a legitimate general conference? In effect, the UPND do not have a candidate for this year's elections. The PF has these troubles. Because remember, to hold a legitimate conference, you need to give notice to the chief registrar of society for 30 days, the police for 30 days. You can go back to the recent cases of my dear brother KBF and my dear brother Harry Kalaba. Let's start with the case of Harry Kalaba. Harry Kalaba held a general conference. The registrar of society refused that conference. They said, you didn't give us 30 days notice. And there was no opportunity for us to inspect your books and your members and to inspect that the people you are saying formed an electoral college came together. So that conference was nullified. And my dear brother Harry Kalaba had to hold a second one. Now, for purposes of general elections, you should hold a valid conference. Any gathering, anyone can hold any gathering. But will it be valid to be accepted at ECZ? Will it be valid to be accepted to participate in the general conference in 2026? I saw a statement from the Zambia Inter-Party Conference also talking about the gaps in the law that have allowed political parties not to respect the law. Because Article 60 of the Republican Constitution, Article 60, Sabbatical 2, Sabbatical F, requires that political parties that are going to general conference, that are participating in general elections, must hold general conferences, intra-party general conferences. We seem to have run out of time. Why do I say so? Because an electoral calendar has been issued. The register will be closed. Is it by 1st May? New constituencies will be announced that will rise the number from 156 to 226. On 15th April, you have to take 1,000 members to the ECZ, 100 from each provinces. They have to be registered as supporters of presidential candidate. A month later, the parliament will stand dissolved, and 2 days later, there'll be nominations for MPs, for council chairperson, mayors and councillors, and the president for a period of 5 days. The PF, I encourage them to hold their party conference as soon as possible, whether under any name or under the PF when it finally comes. Maybe they should hold a two-part process because they've run out of time. A two-part process. If they've planned, as I have understood now, if they've planned for a general conference this weekend, it's just one of the many meetings the PF has been holding. They've been expelling people. They've been holding central committee meetings. A conference is just one of the meetings, like an AGM. So they can proceed under whatever they've been operating. And when they have the legal papers, maybe they can call a proper general conference to affirm the decisions that will take place today. Are the warnings of Honorable Kambwili valid? They are valid. But for him, I was just correcting between the matter on 27th and the matter in Kabwe. The matter on 27th is a mere agreement. And even that has been taken overtaken by events. Let's assume, let's just discuss that briefly. In that case, Mao Sampa is agreeing with Brian Mundubile, Raphael Nakachinda, and others that the party is one. That's the agreement there. If Mao Sampa wins the case, Mao Sampa holds the PF. If we win the case, the one I have narrated, Lubinda owns the party. So either way, the party remains PF. That's the effect of the March 27th. The only thing for me, I will express apprehension, will be the matter on in Kabwe. If Mao Sampa effectively substitutes Morgan Ingona, because there's an injunction, then Mao Sampa can hold the general conference because he's currently the PF owner. What is important is that those records in Kabwe should be updated so that injunction becomes academic. Not the matter coming up on 27th. And as I've narrated. Now, I saw two calls, including Joseph William Dolo, maybe like Honorable Chimbaka Mwili, maybe he wishes to say something. Just give me a moment, I see if I can call him.
We want change! We want change! We want change! We want change! We want a change!
Honorable Mulilia Bode, Bakulu wa Bakulu, Heavy Duty,
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Twakupele voting atawa bomba Twakupele voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Tawali mone voting atawa bomba Pantuno mwaka Kuya bebele Twanakane mwe Mwachira mobufi Kuya bebele Twabwelele numa Kuya bebele Mwachira mobufi Mwalitula ile ona lebwa timukesa tupangira kwemisebo Wali mipele neboti atimukesa tupangira kwemisebo Ni mwewo.
Okay, thank you very much. Honorable Joseph William Mudolo is on the line. He's one of the presidential candidates. Remember what I was stating, that we had 9 presidential candidates, but we reopened and allowed 4 new candidates. This was Joseph William Mudolo, and this was Chanda Katotowe, Given Lubinda, and Makebi Zulu. These were the new entrant to the 9 that had already paid. And he has written a very strong letter today where he has opposed the party holding a general conference, and he has announced that he will not participate in the process this weekend. He's on the line. Let's hear from Mr. Willa Joseph Mudolo. My dear brother, the country is listening to you. Make your contributions.
Ambassador, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you very much. You've been running away. I've been calling you to come on the podcast. You've been running away. Now here I've got you. Make your contributions.
Okay, so my contribution is very straightforward. I've listened to part of your podcast, Mwamba, and I should state that it is very disappointing somehow. The conference cannot be compared to ordinary meetings that PF has been holding on the sidelines. We are talking of electing a party leader who eventually becomes the head of state. How then do that person demonstrate that is going to respect the constitution of Zambia, uphold the governance and the standing orders that governs our country, if shortcuts are starting to be made now? I don't see, and I'm very happy that you provided the background of what really transpired, which led to all these battles in the courts. But also, Honorable Kambwili has provided some sort of a clear, perspective of what has been transpiring from the time that we got to court as a patriotic front. It is also very clear that the reason why maybe we had even some of the bad things that happened during the PF administration is purely because we have people who think they can chop and change the constitution, which needs to govern everybody equally. We can't have a constitution that we like, and at the same time, this is a written constitution that needs to be respected. You can't have a person who is going to be elected on the sidelines as a member of Patriotic Front once this person has resigned. It is very, very clear that the moment you step aside to hold a conference with no name, you have resigned from being a Patriotic Front member. Straightforward. You can't come back. If we were to do such, then we can also allow Honorable Mundubele to say, come back and fit in the structure when PF is fully regularized and the court issues have been settled. We can't allow that. And I'm saying, I'll wait for the 27th decision of the court. Depending on the outcome, then we will hold a convention. We are very sure that the courts, they have demonstrated objectivity. And I think we expect either way, either Honorable Sampa's convention will be upheld. Even if it is not upheld, the party is back. So the fact that the party is back, we are talking of few days to make a proper decision that is going to demonstrate that we can be entrusted should we be given a mandate as a president or as a ruling party. So I'm in disagreement, and I'm not agreeing with you, Honorable Mwamba, that you are providing misleading statements to Zambians. We are setting a bad precedence that will now pass on to the generations to come, that whenever there is a political misunderstanding, people can disrespect the process, can disrespect the standing orders, can disrespect the constitution that governs all of us. And that is a very clear position. So whoever is going to attend, who is going to participate in the convention that is going to take place on Saturday or Sunday, that person has ceased and they have automatically resigned from being members of Patriotic Front. Should we encounter a delay on the 27th, then the party leadership can decide to look at the alternative.
Okay. Mr. Mdolo, yes. just hold on.
Yes.
First, let me assert two strong words you've used that are misleading the country. And number two, that I'm not providing, sound advice. Let me be very clear. Your assertion that we should wait for 27th March is what I spent time to address, that is folly. What is at stake now is that the party is back with Mao Sampa, who is with the PF. And I've stated that, in my view, the only encumbrance is where we have a court order. On the matter coming up on 27th, which you have cited, there is no legal order, there is no encumbrance, there is no injunction. It's a mere agreement between two parties. Okay? I think the judgment of serious effect, just a minute, I'll let you speak. The judgment of serious effect is the one where Mao Sampa last week obtained, and the party was restored to Mao Sampa. Mao Sampa, who is with the PF. Why can't the PF hold a general conference this weekend? In my view, I've stated on this program, is that the pressure should be on the matter where there is an injunction, and the injunction is on a matter that is in Kabwe, not on a matter that is coming up on 27th. I think that's a clarification I've been bothering to express myself the last 1 hour.
That is very true, and that is actually the basis on which the leadership has decided that they should hold a conference without a name. So what that means is that they will be resigning from Patriotic Front. I'm in disagreement that I paid a nomination to contest as a party leader and eventually be the head of state if people of Zambia give me the mandate. Not on an organization that does not have a name. That will mean there is legal implications. Someone cannot say,
just there, Mr. Mdolo. Just there, Mr. Mdolo, just a minute. Who did you pay the nominations to? Did you pay to Chavinga?
We paid to Patriotic Front as an organization.
But was Patriotic Front with the Patriotic Front the people that received your money?
Look, that was a faction. Look, the Chavingas, look, I don't want to comment much on that.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to clarify.
There was no injunction at the time. We filed the nominations. There was no injunction, but there were legal issues in court. So that was some sort of, there was clarity there that Honorable Chavinga and Honorable Ngona, they were deemed, and which we all agree that they were a faction. Simple as that. So now we are in a situation where the party is back. If Honorable Sampa was to make a mistake and be part of the convention that is going to take place on a weekend, automatically he loses the power. He gives back the party to Chavinga as well as Honorable Ngona. Honorable Chavinga will now raise a hand to say, you see, this man has resigned. This is the legal implication that is behind this. So whoever is going to be elected as the leader of the party without no name, that person is an independent structure, is not a member of Patriotic Front and cannot be entrusted to lead the nation. You were comparing, the issue which I said you are misleading the country is that you were comparing meetings that Patriotic Front has been having in preparation to fight and reclaim the glory of Patriotic Front. You compare it to the convention. A convention is a paramount, a meeting that cannot be just be taken casually, because that is a time that we elect a person that we trust, that one day this person is going to lead us as a president of the country. This person disrespects the constitution at the foundation. When do you expect, and how? And it will be shocking to see this person upholding the constitution of the country, because what is going to these are the issues that we have, where you have leaders engaging in corruption, have leaders who are engaging in shortcuts in order to satisfy their personal interest and not the interest of the public. So this has to be very clear, Mwamba. You cannot come on this podcast, a very respected and important man like yourself. You are not just an ordinary person. You're a person who has served in a serious capacity as a senior official of our country. You can't come and start misleading the children who are listening out there, the youth. How do you expect them to respect the constitution if we the leaders, we start teaching and inciting disobedience to the law? That cannot be accepted. It is unconstitutional and should not be tolerated. You are misleading the people.
Okay, just hold on. I've got Honorable Chimbakamwili here. Don't hang up. Let me hear quickly from Honorable Chimbakamwili. Then I come back to you. Please don't hang up. Honorable Chimbakamwili, I don't know if you are listening to the broadcast, but I've got William Joseph Mdolo on the other side. He had issued a strong statement objecting to the party holding a general conference this weekend, and he had given reasons, and he has called to affirm his position that he did in his letter. Do you have any views, or you didn't finish your earlier thoughts?
I haven't heard what Mudolo was saying. Because I was offline.
What? Let me just summarize for him. Yeah, he's on the line as well. Yeah. Let me summarize what he has said quickly. He has said that he has learned that the party is holding a general conference in the next few days. And if the party, because of these legal encumbrances, the conference will be held without a name. And he says that will be being disobedient to orders that are before court. That has been his argument. And he says he was disputing my earlier thought, my earlier position, which I have said that the PF has held meetings, directives, appointments, and this issue has not come up, including the payments that Joseph Mdolo did to the party. He paid to the Luwinda faction. So he says the conference is so paramount because the eventual winner is likely to be a head of state. And he says we can't apply casual approach to it. So now you can make your comment.
Mudolo is supporting my sentiments, and thank God that is being reasonable. And I can tell you that every time those who are in the minority are looked like they are unreasonable. Just like Jesus, before he died, he said, the issue is straightforward. If you are saying Munduvile, what he did, he has resigned from the party, how do you also go and hold a party on no name? It means your party is no name, it's not PF. And it can be described as an independent party. It can never be described as PF. And my view is that, look, we are dealing with a government that is unpredictable. They'll just find the ordinary member of the party and say, go and sue to say that this leader was elected is not PF because he was elected before the legal status is retained to the Luwinda, Edgar Lungu, or Mao Sampa. And the legal status will only be retained after the judgment of the court on the 27th. Without that judgment, anything that will be held is not PF, and it can never be PF. And I want to tell my elder brother, Mr. Dr. Mwambi, that what he wrote and what you, Mwamba, wrote are misleading statements, and don't mislead the masses, particularly our supporters, some of whom are ignorant of the law. If you are saying Munduvile is no longer PF, what would make you be PF if you hold a convention before the legal status of the party is retained? Gentlemen, for once, let's do the right thing. Like I said, there is a Greek saying that when pressure comes, because what I can see here is that you want to hold the conference because of pressure, members saying, oh, we are leaving, hey, you are holding on to the... Tell the members the truth, that there is an injunction not to hold the convention on PF, and that is binding. And I have said that this scenario can only be sorted out either by two ways.
Okay, now let me pause before I let you go. Let me pose this question to both of you. I'll start with you, Honorable Chimbakambuli, then I'll go to William Joseph Mdolo. The matter is very clear. The country and all political players have seen that President Hakainde Hichilema and the UPND will never give back the PF. They will use legal maneuvers and they will disrespect the law like they have done. They will remove people legally from the registrar of societies. They have delayed the entire process so that the PF doesn't have a leadership, so that the PF does not participate in the elections in 2026. This is an environment that you and I are operating in. Why should it be you, the only one, to ensure that you follow the law that is being used against you, that has been weaponized against you? The judiciary has been weaponized against you. So maybe answer that question, because many people who are listening know that, look, Mal Sampa has done something wonderful. He has won a case and he has gone before Judge Rimbani Nkabwe. For 1 week, the judge has been unavailable. And that has been the story of PF cases. As a strategy, the leadership of the PF, looking at the electoral calendar that has been issued, the PF may not participate in the general elections if the leaders...
Let me ask you a question.
So let me just finish.
No, listen. Will the UPND participate in the election because they've not held the general conference also?
The UPND, as demonstrated by President Hakainde Hichilema, he has abrogated the constitution and he has abrogated the law several times. But he knows you will follow the law, and you will be barred by ECZ. The UPND will not be barred.
Mwamba. Ichibulemba chitila mweba iche mwilisha ntanga isavi kadilanwa. Mweba iche mwilisha ntanga isavi kadilanwa. HH and UPND have got the power of incumbents. They can direct anybody to do anything. But can you direct anybody to do anything? And my question is, you hold the conference on no name or SPV, and then somebody just sprout out and say that is a sign of that people have resigned from PF, and the constitution of PF says you can only come back to the PF after 3 years.
No, my trouble, Honorable Kambwili, has been that when it comes to the general conference, this is where we only want to apply the law. When Honorable Given Lubinda fires, hires, appoints, that is legal. When Given Lubinda says participate in women's groupings, that is legal. Now you have to hold a general conference amongst yourself. All of a sudden, that has become illegal. Like I said, there's an environment in which you're operating in.
The difference is, I've given you an example. When Given Lubinda signs the adoption certificate, is it honored by ECZ?
I'll answer it this way. The PF Central Committee, that same illegal PF Central Committee, adopted the candidate and he won Petauke. How he won Petauke, whether under SPV, is another matter. The PF under Lubinda appointed the candidate and nominated the candidate for Chawama. That candidate won. So there is issues of there is issue of strategy. There is issues.
Emmanuel, let's not play with semantics. That candidate, did he stand on PF or FDD? The other candidate in Petauke, did he stand on PF or NCP?
So in my view, just answering that question. Before I listen to you, Honorable Kambwini, I want to bring Mdolo as well. The same way you adopted these candidates, Kasama, Petauke, and Chawama, you can elect a presidential candidate. Then you will decide where that presidential candidate will stand, whether under PF or any other faction. But you should not stop processes.
Experience, and we have seen things happen. You see, what you are forgetting is that even you as PF, when you were in power, you used to do certain things that only favored you. What the UPND is also doing, and it went. Now, the truth of the matter is that yes, we can hold a conference, but the conference will not be a PF conference. The product, the president, will not be a PF president, as long as that case is not resolved before the 27th or otherwise. That is why Mao Zampa has gone to court to apply that, because now he has been given the authority to have suspended Ngona and Chavinga. The court will not automatically discharge that injunction unless there is an application which Mao has made. But
it was filed on Monday. You saw the records. Yeah, you saw the records. It was filed on Monday.
What makes it different is that on the 27th, once the party rules that once the court rules that the matter is back to the original owners, that Tawe matter becomes an academic exercise, because those people will have no locus to sue anybody using PF.
Bakalamba, since we are speaking to the country, let me just ask the last question. What will be the outcome? There are two parties, Mao Sampa and Brian Mundwil and Raphael Nakachinda on the other side, on the matter on 27th. What will be the outcome? Let's not assume that we will win.
There's a consent.
Yeah.
There's a consent judgment that Mao has filed to say that the PF be given back to the original owners.
Yeah.
My expectation is that it will be given back to the office bearers that were there before Mao's held the convention, and those who resigned, like Davis Mwila, like the former president has died, then it goes back to the members and those who are legally, who have remained with a PF. Given Luwinda becomes the acting president, the Secretary General, Raphael Nakachinda, becomes the Secretary General.
So,
yeah,
what if it is dismissed? What are the effects? Because there are always two outcomes on any court matter. That's a hopeful outcome. What if it is dismissed?
Well, it will be very funny that the same court that says Chavinga and Ngona is no longer Secretary General could change its mind and say, yes, the party belongs to Chavinga. That will be a record decision of a court.
No, I don't think that they can. I don't think that the party. No, I don't think the ruling can go that. There are just two issues here. The two parties are trying to agree, and Robert Chavinga only came in, as a third party, claiming process that has been dismissed. So the two parties, if the matter is dismissed, what is the outcome? Because it can go either way. For me, the way of 27th March will just be what it is today, is that the party is currently under Mao Sampa. And if we win,
officially
yeah,
until, not legally until the 27th judgment.
No. Legally, as at today, the party is with Mao Sampa. It's with nobody else. That's a consent agreement. That's a consent
There
agreement.
is a case in court.
Yes, there is.
There is a case in court which has to be decided on the 27th.
No, but as at today, looking at the developments that have taken place, the legal owner of the party is Mao Sampa.
Well,
As
you
at
can think
today,
that way.
because
But
of
I have asked you, and look, Mr. Mwamba, let's not play with semantics. I have told you, supporting, yes, the legal owner is Mao Sampa. And to my knowledge, Mao Sampa is not sanctioning, agreeing with going ahead with the convention. What do you do?
that I know those are administrative issues. After this broadcast, we will go, you and I will call Honorable Given Lubinda and others and begin to agree. But for the purpose of this crisis, because you had gone to the media and Honorable Joseph Mdolo had gone to the media, and there's a boiling discussion in the country. And I've gone to the media to address the two matters that you had put in the media. And I was correcting, for example, the issue of the 27th March and the issues of Kabwe and the issues that occurred in the Lusaka High Court. And then I just gave the history. Because there was an earlier narrative that has been pushed, where you've referred to Davis Mwila as well, is that Davis Mwila resigned as Secretary General in 2021 and amendments were done. Again, the Chief Registrar wrote a letter to us that you suffer deregistration if you don't update your records. And we brought a letter to her that amendments were done in 2022 where Davis Mwila, Honorable Inonge Wina, and others were replaced. And she asked us to do and submit new fingerprints. And that was done. That was the latest in April 2023. And the records are there. So those were the three major clarifications I was making, including your remarks. But I think we all agree. And
now, let me end by saying, Honorable Given Luinda, don't be scared of the pressure that you are receiving from people telling you to do the wrong thing. My brother, if you are listening for me, it is not your fault that we've not held the convention.
Correct.
It is because of the court issues. My appeal to you as a leader, because in leadership, the chairman holds the hammer. It is not the electoral commission, it is not anybody, but the chairman holds the hammer to make a decision, whether right or wrong. Don't allow the convention to go on before the 27th.
Thank you.
Appeal.
Thank you for that
Because
appeal.
you create more complication than it is today. I submit.
Thank you. Thank you, Honorable Chimbaka, and thank you for calling. Let me also hear from Honorable Joseph William Mdolo, and let's hear your concluding remarks.
Yeah, my concluding remarks basically is very straightforward. No one should support illegalities. Honorable Mwamba, you're a very senior citizen of our country. Do not mislead the people of Zambia.
You know, Joseph, William, just a minute. Hey, Joseph, just a minute. I earlier heard his insults where he's saying I'm misleading and I'm misdirecting. No, just listen to me.
Let me finish.
No, before you finish, I will not allow you to disrespect me. No. Just wait. Let's put some parameters. I hold you in high respect. I expect the same from you.
I do the same.
Yeah, do not abuse me by using. We are live before the country. I have a name, I have integrity, and I'll not be disrespected by anyone, including you.
No, I'm not doing that, Mama.
Yeah, so make your remarks. I've respected you and I've allowed you to speak on this forum. But please don't insult me. Thank you.
Thank you. No,
Make your remarks.
Thank you so much, Mama. Look, my sincere apologies if I've made you feel that way, but I'm trying to dismiss your position that the same way the other meetings have been held in Patriotic Front during the time of trying to clean up, it should be compared to the conference. The conference is the most important, event that happens in a party because it elects a leader that is going to be entrusted by the people of Zambia. And we cannot make such shortcuts. The reason why I issued that statement, we were in the meetings as presidential candidates, those who have been validated to participate in the election. And what was shocking is that some of the colleagues, who are actually, some of them, they are even lawyers, they were able to justify. It is very simple. If we decide to hold a conference over the weekend under a parallel structure, we have to admit that those that are aligned or inclined to participate in that, they have basically resigned and they are no longer Patriotic Front. Even when issues are resolved, they can't come back that they should participate into that conference. That is the position. So what I was not intending to disrespect anyone or to look down upon anyone, but to dismiss your misleading statement. And this is comparing a conference to other ordinary meetings. That should not be entertained. We are trying to trample on the principles of constitutional reforms. That should not be entertained. We have to respect the rule of law, and that holds the country together. We can't have a leader who is elected on illegalities. What are we going to teach those who are coming after us? So this is a concern that we have to deal with. And this is my message to the country.
Thank you very much. I just take great exception. Yeah.
By the end of March.
Yeah. I just take great issue when people wish to insult my integrity. That I do not allow. It doesn't matter who. Yeah, including President Hakainde Hichilema or anyone. So my dear brother, the purpose of calling you was to hear your views. That's the purpose of this platform. You issued a very strong statement, and I felt that you should air so that the country can hear your views. But unfortunately, some choices of your words, personal attacks against me, that I take great exception.
On that particular one, but
Yes.
I was just dismissing
Express yourself.
your
Express
misleading
yourself.
statements.
No, they could not be misleading.
Yes.
It's an opinion. You have an opinion. I have an opinion. I can't say in my entire broadcast, I have not said your opinions are misleading. Even when I find that they are misleading, but I will not call them that. I have to respect.
They are touching on the law.
No,
They are touching on the constitution.
I have to respect
They are
your
touching on the law.
opinion. I will not call it. I will
Yeah.
not describe it. I will not justify it. Is you have expressed an
touching on the law.
opinion. No, you've
If the
expressed an
law-
opinion and have to hear it.
Yeah.
That's my
It's
point.
trying to be
And I expect the
deviated
same
into a different
standard.
direction.
No, listen. I expect the same standard. When I express an
True.
opinion, you respect my opinion. The reason I brought you to the
It is not an
program.
opinion, Mwamba. It is not an opinion. What you are providing is a misleading statement to compare a conference to an ordinary meeting. This is something to do with the constitution. You understand, you're a senior citizen. You understand the principles of constitutionalism, and you cannot give it a blind eye in order to justify irregularities. That is not acceptable.
To you,
So this is
to you. Let me make it very clear.
To the nation as a country.
Come on. Now we're Honorable
The
Mdolo.
Constitution is a
Honorable
act-
Mdolo,
is a
you
act
and I
is what-
enjoy
is
a
what
good
governs
relation.
us.
No, you and I enjoy a good
Yes, of
relation.
course. You are
Give
my
your
brother. You know my relationship with you is very sound.
Yes,
but
correct.
when we mislead the people, I'm not going to look at you to say, because this is my brother. You are my brother, and believe me, after this podcast, we'll be laughing to say, look, this is what happened. But do not mislead the public, because we are setting a bad precedence.
Okay. And I want to respect that opinion. That is your
It is
opinion.
not an opinion; it's a fact.
Are you a court of law? Have you?
It is a fact.
Are you a judge?
We
What
have
you
a
are
constitution
expressing is
which
an
written.
opinion.
It is a written constitution which needs to be respected. So I don't need to be a judge as long as I'm a Zambian citizen who is bound to respect, and the constitution defends me. It defends every Zambian. We are there to make sure that it defends the rule of law.
Yeah,
And we
okay.
respect the rule of law.
Okay.
That is what it is. We cannot bring sideline issues into the constitution. The public should not be misled. There are people, our people, we have people coming from different parts of the country. Some would not understand the law.
Okay.
If they listen to a senior citizen like you, Honorable Mwamba, speaking and justifying what is illegal, that sends a bad perception and people begin to have mixed understandings.
Okay,
So
thank you very
we
much.
have
Thank
to-
you very much. So there you are, colleagues. I'd apologize that I was going to speak for 30 minutes, but you know how this program is. It just evolves. And when I had calls from senior people like Honorable Chimbaka Mwili and William Joseph Mdolo to take into account. Now, let's attend to just what Joseph Mdolo has said, that I'm misleading you. I'm not misleading you. I'm recognizing that President Hakainde Hichilema is running the country. I'm recognizing that he has embarked on deplatforming us as a patriotic front. I've recognized that President Hakainde Hichilema doesn't want the PF to be on the ballot. If the PF believe that judiciary, the police and registrar, will grant them the legality of the PF and they sit on their laurels, it has taken us 5 years where we are. If management of the party take a strategic decision, for example, like to hold this conference that they wish to hold it, that's why I gave the background to the party. That how have they been dismissing, appointing, and making party activities? Why can't they hold the general conference? How did the party adopt a candidate in Petauke and the candidate won? We urged our members to vote for such a candidate. How did our members vote for a candidate in Chawama? How is, for example, Brian Munduwile running with the PF members? It's a recognition that the PF may never be given back to the PF. Here we are. The party has come back to the Patriotic Front through Mao Sampa. He has gone before that judge who's holding an injunction against the PF from holding a general conference. For 1 week, judge at a conference. Those are the Mingalatos we have seen. Now, to discuss as if we are a lawful country, that there is no dictatorship and there is no president who's determined to disrobe the PF from participating in the general elections, to pretend that we have courts of law and the constitution that is adhered to, is perilous to both our members and ourselves as a PF. Do I support the decision to hold a conference? I started by stating earlier that for me, the only thing they need to worry about is a Kabwe injunction, not the March 27th, the consent. That's just an agreement. Besides, in real life, Mao Sampa and ourselves are now one. We've agreed. Even before the consent judgment comes, currently as we stand now, the PF is with Mao Sampa. The only thing we have to worry about, troubling in my perspective, is the Kabwe injunction, where Mao Sampa has rushed to that court to update the records of the court that Monga Ngona stand dismissed. Am I misleading you? I would never mislead you. I would never mislead. And I will never speak from the narrow perspective of the law alone. I have to recognize the politics and the environment that the PF is operating on. Today, the Human Rights Commission has issued a scathing opinion on Zambia, that President Hakainde Hichilema is abusing human rights. He has weaponized the law. He has hijacked law enforcement agencies and wings of government like the judiciary and parliament. That's what the Human Rights Commission has stated today. So, as a politician working in that environment, you want to rely on the judiciary to give you back the PF. Come on, Mwantu Wakwalesa. Are you serious? Do you love the PF? Do you want to continue bleeding the members to other political parties? The Citizen First have put a deadline. By 31st, you should submit. I received a lot of calls because the Citizen First is a legal party. It is owned by Hari Kalaba. Is currently the owner of the party, has gone to general conference, and he has put out this advert that he wants candidates across the country. And people are applying. So PF members were calling me. When are you resolving your issue? Do you want us now to apply Kuriba Citizen First? Or do you want us to apply Kuriba FDD? And operating in that environment, you still want to operate like you control the judiciary, like you are a ruling party. Yes, we have a duty to follow the law. Yes, we have a duty to abide by the Constitution. But what do you do when you have an incumbent who's determined to destroy the opposition? Do you sit on your laurels and say, let's follow the law? Do you know what will happen on the 27th? This judgment should have been delivered in November. 5 months later, it has not been delivered. Every day the judge has an excuse. She's at a workshop, she's sick, she's unavailable, the judgment is not ready. Are you sure on the 27th there will be no other story? It would be naive to believe that respecting the law is noble. When you have, like I always say, Kabola Langa is a munganda. He wants silence. He wants order. The thief wants order. The thief who's stealing from you wants you to respect his word. The thief who's stealing from you wants you, when he says sit down, you sit down. The thief wants to steal while you are silent. Until we recognize the environment we are in, it will be folly for the PF to rely in its strategy entirely on the outcomes of the law. Here, there's a new window, very rare window, where they have a party that belongs to PF, because Mao Sampa is currently the Deputy Secretary General in the PF. And what I see is administrative, is Honorable Chimbakambuli's concerns, Mudolo's concern, Mao Sampa's concern. They should use this narrow window they have and hold the General Conference. In light of the injunction, they can still hold it. Like I told you, the PF picked a candidate in Petauke. The PF picked a candidate in Chawama. That candidate that they can select, they can sponsor him under the PF if it will finally come back. That candidate can be an independent. That candidate can be sponsored by any other political party. But the PF itself must resolve itself and pick a candidate of their choice. To follow legality, avoid the politics, avoid the environment where you have a dictator ruling who's determined to oppress the opposition. And you call that misleading? I've seen elections. The first active elections I participated in was the 2001 elections. 2006, I was very instrumental with KBF and Dr. Chiluba to build the PF. 2011, Dr. Chiluba died, I didn't participate. 2008, I didn't participate because Dr. Chiluba decided that we abandon the PF and go to the MMD, and I disagreed strongly with that position. But 2014, we engineered and ensured that Edgar Lungu won. So I personally have also very, very strong, not just legal, but political opinions. And I didn't come to this forecast to just discuss the legalities. The legalities have failed us. A party has been stolen from us using legality. A matter has been locked up in court for the last 3 years using legality. You still want to rely your strategy on legality. We want to acquire a meeting. God bless you. God bless our country. And thank you for joining us.
We want change! We want change! We want change! We want change! We want a change!
The sound magician. Wi-Fi on the beat, boy.
Mukesa tupangira kwemisebo wali mipele ne voti ati mukesa tupangira kwemisebo nimwe wamwatire mukesa tukulira ne chipatala ifwe nimwe wamwatire mukesa tukulira na masukulu kuno ukutula potwa bisalira ifwe wali tula baona lebo imisebo ala yagonaika ichipatala takwaba kuno abana besu basambirira mufimu tifyamango bana mayo mapapira mungande chipatala takwaba kuno imisepila chose malofwa bapepa tebange fama lelilo mufunda tawafika nembuto tashafika ukutula potwa misalila ifwe mulitula baona lebo nomba lelo mabwela imwe mulefwa yatumivotire twakupele votinga tawabomba tatwakupele votinga tawabomba tawalimone votinga tawabomba tawalimone votinga tawabomba pantuno mwaka kuya bebele twanakanemwe mwachira mobufi kuya bebele takwamulele numa kuya bebele mwachira mobufi uno mwaka tulefwa yabakutubombera nota bakwisa kuno mukuzembereka mukutwibira mano nga twabavotera abaya nangu mwatupele ndarama tulepo katatwa mivotera